Hey guys, so today I wanted to show to you and talk to you about my journey as an artist, my style, how I got to where I am today, and all that jazz. So this is actually kind of a little bit of a long story. What's led to where I am today and how my style works and how I think about my work and all that. There's a lot of different things that happen throughout my life, different events, different, things in how I worked and how I felt about my work. It might be a little bit long-winded. So as a kid, I drew a lot, like a lot. I don't know if I drew more than your average child between the ages of like 1 and 12. I just have memories like I'd always be drawing. My drawings would always be like stuck up somewhere. I had these pads of coloured paper that my dad would make for me at his work that I just go through them. Lots of memories of me drawing, some evidence that still exists of that. A lot of it, I don't know where it is or if it's even still physically there anymore. What I'm trying to say is a lot of it might have got thrown out. I can't remember. And it's just a shame because I wish I had some of these old examples of what I used to draw to show you guys, but I don't. So long as I can remember, all through like primary school, secondary school, I loved drawing. Anytime there was a project that involved drawing, I was in on it. But I didn't really enjoy art classes because my school only did fine art and most of the teachers were butts, but it was probably more because the kids were butts. And yeah, I didn't take GCSE fine art because I was like, I don't want to be painting bowls of fruit. It's boring. Especially because around this time I adopted a manga style. I was heavily influenced by like Yu-Gi-Oh! I was like really into Yu-Gi-Oh! Back then. I drew a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan art, I drew a lot of Bakura fan art, drew a lot of emo stuff because I was a depressed little kid. I drew a lot to help like deal with my emotions, like seriously everything from back then is like super emo, stereotypical depressed teenager, but and it showed up a lot in my artwork. Any of you, if you followed me on DeviantArt, you will have seen that stuff. I don't know if it's on there anymore. I'll link to it if it is, or put a picture up just so you can see how depressing my work was back then. That's for future Claire to deal with. And then, despite not wanting to do GCSE art, I suddenly decided I wanted to do A-level art. I think it's because they said that they were going to start doing like not a full-on class, because the idea was that if you wanted to do A-level art, ideally you should have done GCSE art because they covered a lot of the basics, and I hadn't done that. But there was like this other class that was like, oh yeah, if you like, it's like, a B-Tech. It was like a slightly lesser grade than a full A-level basically. And I applied to that class, and then the year started and I was in the main class, and I don't know why. I think not enough people applied for it or something. There was one other person in the class that the exact same thing had happened to them, and like when we first started the class we got a question like, why do you think you can do this class if you didn't do GCSE? And I'm just like, because I didn't apply for this class, I applied for the other class and they put me in this class. And my first year of A-level art sucked because I hadn't had the stuff that should have been taught to me or would have been taught to me in GCSE art. I just didn't have a freaking clue what I was doing. I assumed we were going to get taught all this like stuff, like basics, but no, we just got thrown into a load of projects. And there were a couple of times that like I did a painting and I started with black and everyone's all like, oh no, don't do that, we got taught that in GCSE, you don't start with the darkest colour because And I'm just kind of like, I don't really care, but you're all making such a big fuss of this that it made me like really emotional. I got upset. We had 2 teachers and one of them was just a total B. Anytime I got frustrated or upset or didn't know what I was doing, rather than helping me and trying to like, maybe make me find something that I can do, and she just ignored me. A friend of mine told me she supposedly called me pathetic for getting upset. Don't know if that's true or not, but either way, it wouldn't surprise me if she did, because I did not like her and I didn't think she liked me. I almost dropped it altogether because for those of you who aren't from the UK, you do your GCSEs, you do your A-levels, you pick 4, and then in your second year of A-levels you drop 1. It's usually whichever one you've just decided you're failing at or you don't want to do anymore. And I was more than ready to drop art because I freaking hated it. I hated how the teacher made me feel. I hated the fact that I just felt like I couldn't do anything. But then, I guess luckily, I failed physics. Because I was failing physics, I decided to drop that instead, because even though I wasn't having loads of fun at art, by the end of the year I was picking it up a bit. and also it wasn't, you know, like physics was really hard. My second year of A-level art was much better. I had the nicer teacher who seemed to see my potential and was willing to like talk to me like an adult. This teacher was also one of the first ones that told me, do not draw in a manga style. If you're interested at all in becoming an artist, don't draw in a manga style. You can't draw in a manga style in a fine art class, so don't do it. And so it forced me to branch out and try some other stuff. That entire time I didn't even know a career in art was a choice. I was of the opinion that you only get rich from art, or can only make a living from art, once you're dead. And it wasn't until my second year of A-levels that I even knew, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. It was coming to the end of the year, everyone else is like applying to university, going to interviews, and I'm kind of sat here like, I'm just depressed and don't know what I want to do, and no one's really giving me any direction, and I'm lost and scared and blah. And my tutor sat me down and said, have you thought of a foundation year of art? I mean, the whole thing was kind of framed to me more, oh, do this and you can go do a year in college, just another year, you can still live with your parents, you can still, like, you know, not have to worry about getting a loan or anything because the course is free so long as you start before you're 18, and all of this kind of stuff. Maybe it was 19, I can't remember. Small details, not important. I was like, yeah, why not? Because I definitely was not ready for university at that point. I did not have a clue what I wanted to do in my life or where I was going, or so I did my foundation course at Nottingham College, and it was a great course because basically they just got you to do a bit of everything, especially the first half of the year. Everyone did classes together, everyone tried everything, we did every material fathomable, every like crazy projects, like I can't even describe them to you, there are that many. It was great because it was people dedicated to teaching you art from all different backgrounds. We had like 5 tutors, they all taught us, we went on trips, we went to Venice. It was so great. I cannot recommend a foundation year enough. Even if you think you don't need it, even if people tell you you can probably get into uni with just the work that you've got, do a foundation year, because even if you're already a good artist, doing a foundation year will make you a great artist, or just an even better one. The trouble is, it wasn't all happy times in that year at college. It was a very depressing time for me. I was growing up, I was a teenager, I was going out getting drunk, I was getting crushes and getting heartbroken. I had friends who were also kind of arseholes. It wasn't the best time of my life. This also wasn't helped by the fact that, like, so many people by this point had told me, don't draw in a manga style because no one will take you seriously as an artist, blah blah blah. And rather than, you know, maybe try some different things, see what I like and develop my own style, I just stopped drawing. Especially for myself, I didn't draw manga, I didn't draw anything. I just stopped drawing and I just kind of lost my outlet for my emotions. So I think just the whole thing, it shows up in my work at college a lot. Not everything, but a lot of my stuff, especially for the final project, was all very depressing. I quite liked some of the work I produced. It wasn't my best, but I tried some different things and I'm proud of that. Yeah, I really regret the whole stopping drawing for like an entire year thing. Because, I mean, obviously I drew. I'm not saying I didn't draw full stop. I mean, for myself, I stopped drawing things for me and that I liked. And I stopped investing in the part of the art that, you know, was what basically everything that I'd been before that point was drawing for me. No other reason, not for a profession. And I think it really hurt my skills because when I then went to university, it made it super hard for me to like feel confident in my own work. It was not a good time. So here I was starting a degree with no distinctive style whatsoever. I hadn't drawn for myself for a year. My portfolio from college was all over the place. I had no direction basically. I sort of just knew I wanted to create stuff, but I didn't know what or how I wanted to do it. And the first year was great. I would definitely recommend Derby to anyone who's in a position where you feel a bit like maybe uncertain about exactly what direction you want to go in. Because the Derby course, I assume it still does this, who knows. The illustration, animation and graphic design courses are all run alongside each other, especially in the first year. If everyone's given a taste of everything, you get a few mini low pressure projects that let you just try different things out, and it was great because it really helped me to focus in on the fact that illustration is what I want to do and not anything else. And this was also where I learnt to use Adobe and Photoshop and Illustrator and everything. And what I find really hilarious is that when we first got taught how to use Illustrator, I hated it. Everyone hated it. Like, it frustrated so many people. I just couldn't wrap my head around how it worked. And then it was like at the end of my first year, just kind of on a whim, I decided to use Illustrator and Photoshop for my projects. I don't know why I did it, but I'm so glad I did, because it just sort of suddenly clicked, and I really liked how using the pen tool and vectors worked. And so I stuck with it. Went into second year knowing that that was something that had worked for me and that I liked, and so started pushing that a bit more into my work. Also at this point, I was drawing a lot of stuff in an Adventure Time style, as you will be able to see. Also, this was when I started to try and combine my two ways of working, because to this point I'd always classed things as university work, personal work. They were always separate. I had separate sketchbooks, separate everything. These things never came together. And then in my second year I suddenly realised, what's the point in dividing myself? If this is the thing that's really what I want to do, I should bring it into this, but then like, you know, and let them meld together and become a good thing. And even though that started to make me feel a bit better about my artwork, because I once again had a bit more direction and was drawing for myself again, it also didn't really satisfy me because it wasn't my style. It wasn't my own distinctive thing. It was very obviously Adventure Time. It wasn't quite me or what I wanted my work to look like. And then eventually, and miraculously, I found my style. And in third year, the second term, we got to make our own project basically. That's, as far as I've heard, that's what all illustration/art degrees do. They give you set projects and modules all through your course, and then the very last thing you will ever do is entirely self-driven, and I loved that. I'm so glad that was a thing. Before I even went to Derby, the second I knew that that was what universities did on these degree courses, I was like, Japanese folklore, that's what I want to do. I found the farmer in the raccoon story and knew that that's what I wanted to work with. And so one day I just sat down, tried doodling some character ideas, and just drew one. I was like, that's it, that's good, that's what I want. And it was weird because once I decided that, it was so easy to just pick it up and start drawing that way, and that's kind of how I knew it was my style and my way of working, because for the first time in a long time I felt completely comfortable creating. I didn't feel like I was second guessing myself constantly and having to experiment. I could just do it. And then that sort of mixed in with the fact I was working on a project I was really passionate about. That final term of university was the best like time at any educational thing that I've ever had, because I loved my work and I just spent so much time trying to get my book right. And obviously looking back, there's stuff that I can see now I could have improved on it, but at the time it was the best work I had ever made, in my opinion. And then I think my biggest strides in my artwork came just after graduating. Now that I had all this free time, I was like, right, so I need to start making work on my own. And also I want to work and experiment with this new look I've developed. And for like the first month or so after graduating, I just drew so much. I think I developed a lot, and I started really regularly drawing my little like animal characters and stuff that are now a big key part of what I like to draw. And ever since then, I find every couple of months, maybe once a year or something, my work will go through like an evolution. It kind of morphs into the next stage of itself. And it's weird because now that I've got this consistent style that I'm comfortable with and that I like working and that I know how to create, I notice much more how my work develops and evolves. And that's great, you know, if you feel like your work is changing, that's good. That's always a good sign. That means that you're not stuck and settling. It means that you're growing and developing and getting stronger, hopefully. Changing and developing styles just means you're getting better. I think the trouble is though, what I've noticed, what usually comes hand in hand with these moments of development and evolution in artwork is a crippling self-loathing of your own work. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Sort of naturally you branch out, try something different, you do stuff with your work that you've maybe never tried before, and because it's your first time doing it, it's probably gonna look crap to you because you've never done it before, you've not honed that specific skill. You probably get kind of depressed and down on yourself thinking, oh, my work looks crap at the minute, I can't seem to draw anything right. And I feel like I'm going through one of those phases now. Recently I've kind of, you know, you've probably noticed if you follow my work, all the little things have changed, like how I draw. I've been doing like the little cheek things, and I've kind of been going over the top a bit more with some of the features. That's kind of my work developing, but I'm also kind of frustrated because for me it's less so much the physical artwork, but the what to use it for. I'm not a big ideas person. Anyway, before I get lost in a ramble, that is my artistic journey. There, you've had it. That's the story. That's the story of Claire. For all you artists out there, I will remind you, it is good to look back on yourself and not only see how far you've come and be proud of how much you've changed and developed and how much of a stronger artist you are. Remember where you came from and what interested you as a kid. One thing I found is when I started drawing animal characters again, I found that I really loved it, and I think it's because when I was a kid I always drew animals. I drew animal characters like constantly. Everything I drew was animals. I was never really big on drawing people until I got into drawing in a manga style. So I think that's kind of the key, you know. Without realising it, I've gone back to doing the thing I did as a kid that made it carefree and put it into my professional work, and so it's made everything better. Shut up, Claire, you're rambling again. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll end it now before I ramble again. Bye!